the concept of nursing, just really helping people and being like just that altruistic, innate desire will always be there, and I think will always be a passion for me. Randomly assigned as an intern in a health clinic, and the health clinic was ran by a nurse practitioner. That particular nurse practitioner, she just shattered any type of ideas I had about what nurses do. She was deeply compassionate, and she approached care in such a holistic way. Her passion was so contagious, and for the first time, I saw nursing as not just like this job, but like this meaningful, dynamic profession. And I really want to be part of the solution. I want to be part of looking at just our healthcare system and how do we come together. I want our healthcare system to be more connected. We definitely need to be more compassionate, and we need to be human. I found my passion in leadership, in being able to influence healthcare beyond the bedside. That's why I transitioned to leadership. My dad, I think it took him a while to really come around the idea that my first daughter, my Ada, is going to be a nurse.
Ada,
Yeah, right. But over time, I think he saw my own self-development just as a nurse leader. I think he was pretty proud of my journey.
If you could do it over, would you choose nursing?
I would. There are just so many moments and things that have happened in life for me that my nursing foundation has been really instrumental. The skill set I've learned as a nurse and a nurse leader, I feel like I can step into any space and be successful. Nursing is still a very much respected profession, but I think there is a lot of opportunity for us to grow that respect to greater heights.
Welcome to the Nurse on Purpose podcast, where we challenge media stereotypes about nursing and spotlight the incredible and diverse roles nurses play in healthcare. I'm your host, Nello. Every week, I'll be joined by a nurse who is reshaping the narrative. From frontline care to leadership, education, innovation, and beyond. Our aim is to show the world that nursing is so much more than what we see on TV. Together, we'll explore how we can collaborate with media and other stakeholders to create authentic and inspiring portrayals of nurses. Let's begin the conversation and ignite change, one episode at a time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Nurse on Purpose podcast. I'm joined today by Dr. Modupe Savage. I love that last name, by the way, Savage. She's my fellow Nigerian sister. And guys, I've been having some really fantastic Nigerian nurses on my podcast. And let me just tell you, I'm here for it. Dr. Savage is a doctorally prepared nurse leader in the healthcare field, currently serving as the System Director for Academic Practice Partnerships at MedStar Health. With a career marked by versatility and excellence, Dr. Savage has excelled in various capacities, ranging from clinical operations, leadership, to human resources and talent acquisition. She also imparts her vast knowledge as an adjunct faculty at the University of Maryland School of Nursing, nurturing the current and emerging generations of nurse leaders. She sits on the board of several professional organizations and is dedicated to advancing nursing education and practice. She has earned dual master's degrees in nursing and business administration and a doctorate from Johns Hopkins University, underscoring her dedication to academic and professional excellence. Dr. Modupe Savage, you're welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, especially being hosted by my fellow Nigerian sister.
Yes. Awesome. So today we're really just going to be talking about your journey in nursing, your work, especially in nursing leadership, making that transition from the bedside into leadership.
Yeah.
And really just discussing how nurse leaders can continue to stay connected to the realities of bedside care while managing broader leadership responsibilities. So let's start by just talking about your journey. How did you get into nursing in the first place?
Okay. I feel like my journey resembles most nurses.
Hmm.
Some of us actually stumbled into nursing. So,
Yeah.
like for me, nursing wasn't on my radar until I was in college. It wasn't even something I considered growing up, especially since most of my K through 12 years were spent in Nigeria. And I know you
Yeah.
can relate to that.
Yes.
Nursing wasn't presented as one of those go to professions.
Oh, yeah.
And so I didn't even realize that nurses had college degrees. That was just part
Mm.
of the narrative. It was just like this blocked out profession. And I think the
Same.
irony of that is that my mom is a nurse. And
Mm.
so with her being a nurse, it just wasn't a profession that was presented to me as an option and never really thought about it. But while I was in college here, I was randomly assigned as an intern in a health clinic. And the health clinic was ran by a nurse practitioner. And that experience was truly transformative for me because that particular nurse practitioner, she just shattered any type of ideas I had about what nurses do. She was incredibly smart, which was great, like very smart. She was deeply compassionate and she approached care in such a holistic way. So
Mm.
she wasn't just like treating symptoms. You could tell she was just like treating the whole person, and you could
Yeah.
see the impact of her care on
Yeah.
her patients. It was almost like maybe just God just put this little angel just to kind of help me pivot. But her passion was so contagious. And for the first time, I saw nursing as not just like this job, but like this meaningful, dynamic profession. And that one encounter, just that one encounter, shifted my entire path. I applied to the nursing program at University of Maryland, got in pretty quickly. And since then, I've been a nurse and just really followed my path in nursing. I think I've just always followed the path I was passionate about. So I was
Yeah.
passionate about leadership at some point, followed that path.
Yeah.
And that's really been my nursing journey. That's how I got into nursing.
Awesome. So, what did you pivot from?
So I was a biology major. So I was already
Okay.
in the health space.
Yeah.
And so nothing about healthcare or the sciences was daunting to me. I just wasn't sure what I needed to do. And of course, growing up, if you're considering anything in the health or sciences, you're either thinking of being a college professor, going on through your PhD, or
Hmm.
going to be a medical doctor. So
Yeah.
those were the pathways that were like presented for me. And so I was following that path as a biology major and doing what I needed to do. But this opportunity just changed my path like
Yeah.
overnight.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And so you talked about something that you were passionate about as far as being a nurse and going to that pathway where it didn't just feel like a job, it felt like something that you were called to. Is there something now that you feel passionate about, like a purpose that you feel like you're willing to spend your life fighting for?
Yes, yes. So, I would step back and say, um, as you kind of alluded to, what we're passionate about over our career like evolves. So
Hmm.
foundationally, the concept of nursing, just really helping people and being like just that altruistic innate desire will always be there. And I think will always be a passion for me. And then based on the season of life I'm in, that kind of looks different and transmits different, but foundationally it's the same. I will say over the last 2 years, I've been on a healthcare journey with my dad. My dad passed away peacefully in September last year.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
thank you, throughout his last year and a half, we
Mm.
had countless encounters with the healthcare system. Now, I've been in the healthcare system for many years, but just really never had direct encounters with other aspects of it. So through my dad, as a consumer of healthcare, I got to see the other side. And, despite myself being a nurse, I was honestly shocked at how truly fragmented our healthcare system is. You
Mm.
know, even a basic process that we've been working on, such as med recon, right? A process we've been working on for years. I remember working on this as a clinical nurse, is still a glaring issue, even with all the automation we have in healthcare right now. And why is that? I'm not really sure. I think what was heartbreaking during that journey with the encounters with the healthcare system was how complex the care was, the organizations were, and how burned out the team were, how seemingly burned out they were, and how they showed up burned out was with the lack of empathy, right? Empathy for the patients they were seeing. And it wasn't an intentional lack of empathy. I think the lack of empathy was a protective mechanism. If you're burned out, you just don't have anything to give. But that's detrimental to like patient mortality, patient morbidity, because you're really not getting that type of engagement and partnership that you need from your patient if you show low empathy. But here's the thing, there were also many moments of like bright light. I met several CNAs, I met several physicians, nurse practitioners, case managers, nurses that were exceptional. They had so much empathy. And I think what was striking about these folks was that they didn't spend more time with us than the folks that showed less empathy. They were able to deliver a dose of empathy that just meant the world in terms of just, me feeling optimistic, me feeling empowered, my dad feeling empowered about his care. And they made the world of a difference. That's when, for me, something clicked, right? So when you ask what my passion is right now, right there is my passion. I really want to be part of the solution. I want to be part of looking at just our healthcare system and how do we come together, especially for this elderly, very vulnerable population. They've given so much of their lives to us, the folks that are now doctors and nurses and our children, grandchildren, have given so much of their lives to us. And they're this part of their lives now where they're vulnerable and they need us to show up for them. And so I want to be part of that solution that makes it better. I want our healthcare system to be more connected. We definitely need to be more compassionate and we need to be human. And these folks are not just our only patients, their families also are our patients. So I want to be part of that solution. And that's kind of where my passion lies right now in healthcare.
Yeah. And that really is the foundational piece of nursing and of healthcare is that we're treating the whole person.
Yeah.
Their families included,
Yeah.
but also treating their mind, also, touching on their soul. We're not just looking at their body because we talk about it all the time in nursing is that healthcare is holistic.
Yes.
And we must take that holistic approach.
Yeah.
It's really not about the time that you spend with the patient or the quantity of the time, but it's really about the quality and what you're doing in the time that you're in, you have that face time with them.
Exactly.
Just the tone of your voice,
Yeah.
the presence, the aura that you bring to the room, the way you answer the questions, the way you lay that hand on their shoulder, all of those things are so key to the healing process of a person. And it's wonderful that you're highlighting that and finding, passion in that.
Yeah.
How long did you spend bedside before you transitioned into leadership?
About 5 years before I transitioned into leadership. I found my passion in leadership. I found my passion in being able to influence healthcare beyond the bedside. That's why I transitioned to leadership. There were just like systemic things that I saw that I didn't feel I could impact as well if I was a clinical nurse. And that's why I went into leadership.
Yeah. How did you make that transition? Did somebody just pick you and say, "Hey, I think she would make a great leader. Leave the bedside, come along with us"? How does that happen?
I think it was a mix of that. So I did have that innate desire to want to pivot to a place of more influence, so that I could impact what I was seeing at the bedside. And I knew as a bedside nurse, I was limited in terms of the decision making and the autonomy I could have in this space. And so that's when I actually went back to get my MSN MBA. I got both degrees just because I wanted to look within healthcare and outside of healthcare, the hospital four walls. And while I was on that journey, I decided being a healthcare consultant was that pathway for me. And it's a viable pathway to influence healthcare, definitely. And I remember talking to my I talked to a couple of consultancy companies, and one of the things they really wanted me to get experience in was the hospital operations beyond the bedside. I only had bedside knowledge, so they wanted me to have some sort of additional knowledge outside of what I was learning in school. and what I had in practice. So I remember going to my nurse manager and just saying to her, I kind of want to learn what you're doing. Like, what is it that you're doing? Like, these meetings that you go to, just really wanted to learn about, what was happening beyond the bedside. And, fortunately for me, this nurse leader had a nurturing, mentoring nature. And she said,
Yeah.
here, let's make a deal. I will expose you to all of these things. I think back then it was a bit easier to do that. She had autonomy to give me some administration time, spend a lot of that time helping her with her administrative duties, but it also gave me exposure to attend some of the meetings that she would attend, be a rep for her at those meetings as I further got developed. And I just went on this mentoring journey with her. And I was doing that to go be a healthcare consultant. But in going on that journey with her, I really liked the work that she did. I liked the influence that she had. And I decided her role was one that I felt was that next logical step for me. So she essentially mentored me into that role and advocated for me for my first nurse leadership job. That's how I got it.
Awesome. And that nurse leadership job was being a nurse manager
It was
on
being a nurse
a
manager,
unit.
yes, on a medical surgical unit.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's just like you put yourself out there, and
I
the
did. I put myself out there, and I think when I look back, I feel like I was very fortunate that I put myself out there and I was met with a leader that was open and welcoming.
right.
Because not all leaders are like that. And,
No.
she wasn't threatened by the fact that I wanted to learn her role and
Yeah.
learn more about what she did. So I think, it just all aligned and worked out very well.
It's awesome. I'm sure you faced some challenges when you were transitioning. I want to hear about those challenges and how you feel like your experience as a bedside nurse influenced your approach to leadership. Did it make you more compassionate? Did it make you have more of a listening ear? Because what I want to highlight is when people who have been there eventually step into leadership, it kind of bridges that gap, right? Between the nurse at the bedside and the nurse in leadership. So
Yeah.
just talk to me about how you feel like your bedside nurse experience influenced your own approach to leadership,
Yeah.
and were there some challenges you faced while transitioning?
Yeah. So there were definitely many challenges on that leadership journey. The transition itself, as you could tell, wasn't challenging. I had to interview for the position. Being a bedside nurse helped for leadership of my clinical nurses, right? But when you're a nurse manager, you don't only have oversight of the professional nursing staff, you have oversight of the support staff, you have oversight of the cleaning crew of your unit, you have oversight of every single staff member that's responsible for the functioning of the unit. In addition, you are collaborating with your physician leaders for the unit, because physicians are also a part of delivering care on that unit. So it's like multifaceted. So I definitely had the clinical skills, and I had built some leadership experience under my previous leader that really helped me in the nursing aspect of things. Now, I was a nurse manager in East Baltimore, a large academic medical center right there in East Baltimore. So my support team were from the community, and they had a lot of needs that were like parallel with the community. The community needs were their needs also. And I think that's where I had the most difficulty navigating that. Again, I grew up in Nigeria and my culture was different, right? And so it really took a lot of like stepping back and not like judging at face value what I see, like what they bring to, and that took a lot of work, a lot of introspection, and I hate to say this, a lot of meetings with the union staff. I was always in front of the union, just disputing some issue or the other as a younger nurse leader. So I think those were the biggest challenges, and I will say what really helped me power through that was really having a mindset of curiosity and not really, if you see something, don't always see it as like face value, right? Just inquire, implore some more.
Yeah.
Luckily, that institution, which was Johns Hopkins Hospital, they had a lot of leadership development programs for all their
Hmm.
leaders, which is awesome. And I remember they took us through one of these leadership development programs. They took us through a day in the life of a person that lives in East Baltimore, right? And they had us like mimic this. It was all simulation, and it was the most difficult day in my life, right? Because of, they presented you with some of the challenges that your workforce faces in these type of environments, and that really opens up your eyes and it opens up the way you manage that team. So you can't manage, as I think as a leader, you can't, people might say treat everyone equally. You really can't, right? You actually have to be curious, you have to listen, and you have to kind of meet people where they're at. So I think that was the most difficult part of nursing leadership for me. But the most powerful lesson that I've learned just in life and in leadership.
Meeting people where they are and treating individuals with an open heart and with an open mind, because you
Yeah,
only have your perspective. You don't
you only
have the
do. Yeah,
you don't have the perspective of everyone else. So
yeah,
being able to listen, like you said, be
yeah,
curious, not confrontational.
yeah.
Listen, and listen to understand is
Yes,
very important as
yes,
for a leader to have.
yeah.
I want to go back, because
Okay,
I know we started off talking about our Nigerian roots. I want to go back to that.
okay.
When because I want to hear if our stories are similar in any way.
Uh-huh.
When you decided to pursue nursing, knowing where we've come from and
Yeah.
how nursing is perceived, even though your mom was a nurse, how was that received by your family or by your parents?
It was, I don't know that my mom was open to it. And I think she was open to it because she understood just the foundation of nursing and what it did, like how many doors it opened up for you. Like she was a
Yeah.
nurse and she'd been a nurse here for a couple of years at that point, right? And she
Okay.
had some nursing friends that had just done a lot with their nursing degree that had been here for years. So I think she appreciated and understood the doors that it could open for you. So I don't think I had any issue for her. I think she was just maybe more glad that I had honed in on a career direction. My dad, I think it took him a while to, and he wasn't difficult about it, but it took him a while to really come around the idea that my first daughter, my Ada, is going to be a nurse.
At
Right?
that age.
Yeah, right. His first daughter, because my dad, Columbia PhD, all of that. So I
Wow.
think, and a Nigerian man also. So the idea of nursing wasn't, I think, his first choice. And he just made me promise to go back to get my doctorate. At the time, he's like, try to be a medical doctor or college professor. But it's funny how things turn out that I do have my doctorate and I am a college adjunct faculty.
Wow.
But over time, I think he saw my own self development just as a nurse leader. And I don't think you can discount that just when someone is growing and really developing and becoming more mature, I think he was pretty proud of my journey till he died. And what's interesting is that being a nurse was so key in his journey, also in his advocacy. I was the only nurse in the family. My dad, I was heavily involved in his care and caregiving. And so that came full circle. But I don't know that I got a really difficult time from my parents choosing the nursing journey.
Did he get to see you graduate with your doctorate degree?
He did. So he got to see me graduate my doctorate degree. We actually have at his funeral, we have a video of me and him dancing. Like I have my cap and gown, and we're dancing to Nigerian praise and worship. I graduated in the pandemic, so May of 2020. So I did not get to actually go to a graduation. So we had a little graduation party in our living room, and he was there, and he was dancing with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
So he was very
That's
proud.
awesome.
Yeah.
So his daughter did become a doctor after all.
After all, can you imagine? But yeah, but I think he was just proud of the journey before then, especially when I stepped into leadership. I think he was pretty proud.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Our journey's a little bit similar because I think we even went to the same high school, right?
Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
we went to the same high school, different
Yeah.
years,
Yes.
but we talked about this before that
Yeah.
in QC, I
Yes.
don't remember hearing anyone talking about being a nurse, right?
Nobody. Yeah.
Like that wasn't on our radar. We didn't
Yeah.
even consider it as a
Yeah.
career
Yeah.
pathway. But if you could do it over, would you choose nursing?
I would. There are just so many moments and things that have happened in life for me that my nursing foundation has been really instrumental in just getting me through those times, those moments. The skill set I've learned as a nurse and a nurse leader
Mhm.
um, is just, I feel like foundational to anything. I feel like I can step into any space and be successful just with my
Absolutely.
nursing foundation. You learn a lot of things. You learn communication, you learn critical thinking,
Yep.
you learn soft skills, hard skills, especially when you start to get into more administrative spaces in healthcare. It's so complex,
Yeah.
right? And if you can navigate that, I feel like you can be successful at anything. So I
Yeah.
definitely will go back and be a nurse. What I think I might have done differently, which I think I kind of really did, but
Mhm.
is always pause to reflect about what's fueling me about the profession and making sure I'm stepping quicker into those spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. What is a fun memory that you've had as a nurse, whether it's with a patient, another nurse, with staff?
So I don't know if I could say there has been like a fun moment per se, but I've had many memorable moments. But for some reason recently, this memory has just been like coming to mind a lot. Um, I used to love early mornings as a nurse manager. I used to wake up very, very early. And I just remember every morning I walk into the unit around 6 a.m. with coffee in hand. And there was just something about like that moment of calm. I mean, the nurses were in the patient rooms. The patient were just waking up. They were doing vital signs or giving meds, but it was still somewhat that quiet aspect of the morning. And that calm before the chaos, I always enjoy that feeling of my coffee in hand.
Hmm.
And I love to see my staff. I love to be greeted with good morning. I love to say, how are you doing? I loved just rounding on them, seeing how their night was. I loved every aspect of that. I loved also just the symbolism of just walking into the unit. It just means that this is a new day, another opportunity to make an impact despite anything that happened the day before. So
Yeah.
those moments, and I don't know why that's coming up a lot for me, but those moments as a nurse leader are some of the most memorable moments. My workspace has changed right now, and so I have to kind of like every day mimic that. What does that look like? Like, how can I mimic that? Just walking into a door symbolism in my day to say this is a new day, another day to make an impact. But yeah, that's one of my most favorite moments
That's
that I can't really
wonderful.
think of. But I've had many, many, many,
Wow.
many in nursing.
Wow. You're such a ray of sunshine. I need some of your I need some of your calm energy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that everyone will thrive in an environment that is led by a Dr. Savage,
Oh,
because
you're so
I
kind.
think that you put the needs of the people that you lead in mind.
Yeah.
You're concerned, you're compassionate, you put other people first. I can just feel that from you, and even through our conversation, you are a worthy leader.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I wanted to really talk about how you think a nurse, maybe a new career nurse who might be considering leadership opportunities, how can they also make that transition? What do you think they need to do, whether that is seeking mentorship opportunities, shadowing opportunities? How do you think a new nurse or any nurse really can step into leadership, whether that's being a nurse manager, being in the C suite, all of that?
I think if you've decided that leadership is where you want to be, it starts with just introspection. Like, why is it that you want to be a leader? because that why is really going to drive like how successful you are in the role,
Yeah.
right? Understanding why you're a leader in the first
Yeah.
place. Think doing that introspection, and then the rest of it, I think you just answered, like
Yeah.
really seeking out opportunities. Again, that mindset of inquiry, like asking questions,
Yeah.
seeking out opportunities, seeking out mentorship. I think a lot of us as leaders, and I want to say leaders of color, especially when we're younger, sometimes based on the organization structure, dynamics, or just the diversity component of the organizations we're at, we might not feel as comfortable seeking out mentorship or inquiring from those in our institution. And so you can always reach out to people outside of your institution. I think, again, your podcast, right? Both of us are of color. So there might be a young nurse leader, a young nurse that maybe doesn't feel comfortable going to a nurse manager, but you and I are here on camera. They can reach out to us because we know what it's like to be that young, to be a person of color, really trying to figure out what's next for them. But either way, you still have to reach out and ask questions, seek mentors. Yes, shadow if you can, do the work, but really understand your why first. Because if you understand your why, it's easy for people to help you. And even if you don't understand your why fully, I think maybe that's the starting point, talking about why some of these options are there for you through with a mentor would be helpful. So that's what I would say. I think once you have that foundation, then I think you can build on top of that, and everyone's journey will look different.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Can you just quickly tell us about the work that you're doing with MedStar as the systems director?
Yeah, sure. Just briefly. So I'm the director for academic practice partnerships, and what that means is that I have strategic and operational oversight of any type of student relations affairs or academic affairs under the nursing and some of the allied health and technical spaces. So I form affiliations with schools, our partner schools, strategic partnerships. We harmonize all of our clinical placement processes, our student engagement activities, anything around student and academic affairs. Another component of my job is workforce development, and specifically really looking at ways to help enhance the professional development of our current workforce, and not just, again, nursing, allied health. There are many people in our workforce right now that are desiring and seeking opportunities to grow and advance, sometimes formally, sometimes informally.
Yeah.
So my department really puts in like a formal infrastructure around just getting them where they want to, in a formal way. So we stand up apprenticeship programs, training programs. We've done surgical technician apprenticeship programs, sterile processing training program right now is in the works, cardiovascular tech. These are all roles that are like very specialized, niched, and there are not a lot of schools like given us enough like of an output in that workforce. So, and there are a lot of people within our workforce that just really want the next career step for themselves, and they don't know how to do that. So I'll give you an example. When we launched the surgical technician program within our associates at MedStar, these were folks in like EVS roles, dietary and nutrition. We had over 600 applicants in a couple of days apply for the opportunity to advance their career. And that was eye-opening for us at MedStar Health. And just knowing that there were so many of our associates really ready to grow their career, we decided to stand up what we call the Academy at MedStar Health, which is like a training program. So I have the privilege of leading that program, and it's just been my passion's work right now. So that's what I do right now in MedStar Health. Just really workforce development and pathway development.
That's awesome. Your hands are full.
They are.
Okay, we are at our 30-ish minute mark, so I want to transition with our last few minutes talking about media portrayals and of nurses and just portrayals in general, right? I know that you're not a TV watcher, so I already know that. But I'll ask you sort of in the line of leadership. Do you think that some aspects of our operational systems, the institutions in nursing, and even nurses themselves play a role in the, what would you call it, diminished respect that we experience today? And if so, what is one thing that you would advise that we as a profession and as professionals do better?
Okay.
It's a two-part question there.
I know. See, I was going to say that's a very complex question, but it's a great question. And, as I listen to it, even more so, there's not just one answer. As you know, I do believe there's several factors, including our healthcare systems, academia, other institutions, and nurses themselves, that play a role in the level of respect that we see today. I want to start by saying nursing is still a very much respected profession,
Yep.
but I think there is a lot of opportunity for us to grow that respect to greater heights, right? So if I start with the healthcare system, I think that over the years, nursing roles have become very heavily task oriented and productivity driven, right? It doesn't give nurses the time to really invest in their critical thinking because we're all about patient throughput, documentation speed, other types of efficiency measures, right? So nurses aren't really able to step back and really hone in on their critical thinking skills, some of this compassionate skills, even investing into their why. Why did they become a nurse?
Yeah.
Things like deep clinical judgment and advocacy work, we don't have a lot of time to do that, right? And so new nurses are coming in and they're just getting trained through the speed and not really able to leverage some of the things they learned in school. I think that's one thing. In academia, we're also seeing another type of disconnect where nursing programs, they work hard to prepare students, but we often see a gap between the trainings that they get and the realities of clinical practice, right? So a lot of times they'll enter the workforce and really underprepared for this fast-paced, very high-stakes environment that they encounter. I will say my role at MedStar, one of the big components of my role is to help foster this gap. So we actually have nurse faculty programs within MedStar where our nurses serve as faculty for the purpose of really bringing students into an environment and giving them the real life experience of what it means to be a nurse. These nurses are faculty during their productive time. So they have a patient assignment, they have a group of students, and the students are going through their 12-hour day with them. Wow. And we've gotten so many positive feedback from students about just getting a dose of what it really means to be a nurse. So we're hoping that with programs like that, we can start to close that gap. Yeah. In academia also, there's another layer to consider. We have this diverse pathways into entry for nursing. So you can be a nurse as a diploma nurse, associate nurse, bachelor's nurse, master's entry. And that's been really helpful in helping us meet our workforce demands, right? Because we're anyone that can help. We just need nurses. However, these diverse pathways, unintentionally, are impacting how nurses are perceived and valued, right? Because based on your academic preparation, you show up differently at work. Yes. So some schools might hone in on skills around professional identity, leadership, evidence-based practice, research, and maybe not hone in a lot on the clinical skills. And some schools might hone in heavily on clinical skills, but less emphasis on some of the broader roles that nurses play in health policy, advocacy, collaboration, all of that. So again, inconsistencies in how nurses themselves present themselves and advocate for themselves in that clinical space, which can be confusing for care providers, can probably even be confusing for patients, right? And then nurses, when we think about how we contribute to this, and this is my final comment on this, the reasons why we come into nursing have a lot to play here. So some people come into nursing because they really want to help. And some people come into nursing because this is a stable job with good benefits. And none of those reasons are wrong, honestly, right? We want a stable job, we want good benefits. But the differences in your why can influence how engaged you are, especially when it's now to start to tie in your academic preparation, the culture of your environment. You start to stack all of these things on top of that. It really affects how your engagement and how willing you are to advocate for the profession, right? Some
Absolutely.
people are like, I'm just here transitioning through and I'm going on to my life. So they're not going to do anything to really change the narrative that we see.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, we have to reclaim that narrative and nail it. This is what you're doing. This is why I absolutely love your podcast. I absolutely enjoy being here. I absolutely appreciate the diversity of leaders that you've had here, because even for me as a nurse, it's just great to be like, oh, nurses are doing that. That's so cool, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a nurse myself. So we're reclaiming that narrative of who a nurse is, and that's awesome. We nurses have to do the work. At the end of the day, right, the respect will come through our own consistent demonstration of our value. Like, we have to be intentional about it. We have to make sure we're developing ourselves. We have to make sure we're intentional about how we show up, how we communicate to our colleagues. And if we're intentional and we kind of get together and do all of this work, I think we'll really start to shift that narrative. But again, your podcast, I think, is going to go far in helping to shift that narrative.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. And I could not have given a better response. That question, I think you just blew that out of the park, because, everything you've said are things that I have addressed on my YouTube page, talking about the different entry pathways into nursing. And when I said it, I was like, I feel like I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this.
Yeah.
But all of these components are so important. It might seem like just a little thing, but when you add that and stack it on with what comes, the repercussions of it, that's when you really start to see how much of an impact these little things that seemingly don't matter, how much they really do matter to our profession. And I love the term you have used, reclaiming the narrative, because it's one thing to keep fighting against it and, kind of pushing back, but sometimes you just have to ignore it and do the thing that's positive and hope that in doing more of that, it outweighs the negative, because
exactly,
fighting can be so exhausting, So instead of fighting, that's why I changed my tagline from challenging the media stereotypes of nursing to reforming the media stereotypes, because it puts the power back in my hands. I'm not waiting for anyone to make that change. And so thank you so much. And thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. We are fresh out of time. I'm going to go right into our game. And I promised, in 5 minutes, we're going to be done. Okay.
Sounds good.
So let's play the game. Are you ready?
I am not ready, but ready or not.
Girl,
here I come.
You were made for this. Okay, so let's shake our jar, and I'm going to pick a category from here, our genre. And when I pick, you'll tell me the plot line of a show that features a nurse or a nurse lead. What's your favorite, kind of? Do you have a favorite, or? I'll just pick.
I'll just show a genre.
I'll just pick.
I'll pick something.
We don't jinx it.
Okay, let's not jinx it.
All right, let's go. Oh, I think I picked two on accident. Okay, that one. Ooh, okay. Your genre is romance.
Okay, romance. Well, when I was younger, most of the novels I read were romance novels, right? I don't read romance novels anymore. I live in the real life now. And so I do a lot of non-fictional books. So I can give you a plot here. So I'm creative, but not creative in the creative art. So bear with me. So picture this, right? A male nurse practitioner. He's running a community health clinic on a small coastal town.
Okay, I like how your tone dropped lower.
I know, in a small coastal town. He's the heart of the clinic. He's so empathetic. He's passionate. He's really completely invested in his patients. Just that nurse who we want to see. Like, when we imagine a great nurse, he's that, right? And he carries just that pride in nursing around him. And then there comes this big town city physician, right? She's ambitious. She's laser focused. She's focused on the outcome. She doesn't really have time to really engage her patients, all of that. So, of course, they meet. They're both providers. There's initially like a struggle. around like the best approach for patient care and outcomes.
Mm.
But as romance will have it, in the end, right, they start to see each other's side of things and they marry the best of their worlds. And now they are truly the dynamic duo of healthcare. They're managing efficiency in care, right? And really looking at the outcomes, because you still have to look at the bottom line, but really bringing that human side, that compassionate side to healthcare. So they're able to kind of marry that together, and they're running a really dynamic clinic in this small coastal town.
Love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. That's such a hallmark.
Such a home. Well, you know what though? I do watch a lot of Hallmark movies.
Okay.
So
Okay.
maybe that's where
Your
that's coming from.
inspiration.
Yeah, there's always like really a
A
nice
small
ending there.
town
And
and
it's
some
always a difference in personality, like a
yeah,
really strong personality, a nicer
yeah.
personality. But
I
yeah,
love
so
that.
that's
That's
enough of
awesome.
that's how creative I am. That's the extent of my
Okay. So
creativity.
when Hallmark picks this up, I'm going to be cutting you your $1 million
Oh
check.
yes,
Okay.
please, Hallmark, you hear that? It came here first.
Awesome. Thank you so, so much. This has
Thank
been
you.
a wonderful episode. Is there anyone that you would recommend to be a guest on the show?
You know, I'm thinking of one of my really good friends. I think she just has a lot to offer in terms of her nursing journey. And I will say her name right now. Her name is Dr. B. Lawrence. She's also Nigerian, but really started nursing as an IT specialist before she went into nursing.
Okay.
And she's now a healthcare informatics executive.
Okay.
And so she's doing really well. I think she'll be a great person to have on the podcast. She's also faculty at a local school here. So I'll
Awesome.
send you her name.
Okay. Thank
Formally.
you. Thank you so much. And where can people connect with you real quick?
I think LinkedIn simply. You just search for
Awesome.
my name. My profile is open. You can find me on
Yes.
LinkedIn and you can connect that way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are pretty much done now. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been a wonderful episode.
Thank you for your
Again,
time.
I so appreciate you. I thank you for being here. You're such an awesome person. I know you don't want me to say this, but guys, before we started filming, Dr. Savage like prayed over me. Can you imagine? She literally prayed and like, just covered me. And that felt so wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that we're able to talk to you about your journey in leadership. And guys, please like, share, subscribe, and connect with Dr. Modupe Savage. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging with me till the end. I hope you gained some valuable insight into the world of nursing. If today's episode inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear about the amazing work nurses are doing. Let's keep breaking stereotypes and reshaping the narrative together. I'll see you next time.